Hi there. I'm going to just do a little bit of four riders of the four horses and state of the world update real quick. Trying to catch up on all this time that I haven't made videos. So I have 11,697 Gazans have been killed and at least 1,200 people killed in Israel since October 7th, as of the 19th of November. As of the 16th of November, at least 4,710 children and 3,160 women have been killed in Gaza. At least 29,800 Palestinians are injured, with about 70% of those women and children. Of course, it's difficult to confirm these numbers due to the collapse of the medical and communication services in Gaza City. In the West Bank, due to random killings of Palestinians, at least 197 have been killed, including 48 children, and more than 2,750 have been injured. Israel changed their numbers from 1,405 to, quote-unquote, around 1,200, with, quote-unquote, around 5,600 Israelis injured, and I believe that number includes those who have gone into Gaza, but I'm not sure. As you probably know, the Gazans flocked to the hospitals and schools for safety because their homes had been destroyed with no place to stay and to be together for the feeling of safety and mutual support. However, the safe areas have not been free from the Israelis' attacks. Over half of the Gazans' homes have been damaged, of 222,000 residential units, and more than 54,000 completely destroyed. 300 educational facilities have been damaged, 87 ambulances have been damaged, 11 bakeries destroyed, for bread and food. 26 to 35 hospitals are not functioning. 167 places of worship have been damaged. Every hour, that means 24/7, 42 bombs are dropped, with 12 buildings destroyed, and 41 journalists have been killed. So moving forward, that's the recent facts as of November 19th, 2023. It's hard for me to be quiet about this. I did buy a yard sign that said, stop the genocide, and I'll see how my neighbors react when it comes in. I can't be silent. And I know there are many Christians, and this is what I think really bothers me, seems to justify this. And it doesn't make sense. I can't wrap my brain around how this is justifiable. Okay, so we have the four horses. And here is in Revelations, I'm going to read to you. The next thing I saw was this. When the Lamb had opened one of the seven seals, I heard one of the four living creatures say in a voice like thunder, "Come." And as I watched, there was a white horse. Its rider was holding a bow. He was given a crown, and he went off winning victories and to win more of them. Now, it's interesting because, we talk about crown, the corona, all those kind of things. It's something to consider, because when I start to read the other horses, then you can see stuff moving in that way, but you'll hear me out. Just be patient. It is thought that the white horse is a conqueror, and you see that because he has a bow and a crown, okay? And in the ancient world, the kings often rode the white horses, so the white horse is the enemy of God who will later be defeated in battle, of which some say that's the Antichrist. And these are the things that are happening in the spiritual realm that we cannot see physically. So we can only look at what we can see in our physical world around us. You know what happened with the big C? I'm not sure, but it actually lasted 3.5 years. That means that, I don't know what that means, but, it's something to think about, because then that means there's another 3.5 years for all the other horses. And I don't know anything really. These are just thoughts and little red flags for me. Okay, so next verses. When the Lamb opened the second seal, I heard the second living creature say, "Come." And then the other versions say, "Come and see," which I like better. And another horse went out, fiery red this time. I'm not sure what version this is I copied from. Its rider was given permission to take peace away from the earth so that people will kill one another. He was given a great sword. The rider of the red horse takes peace from the earth and encourages bloodshed, right? It's a large scale of death. When you consider Matthew 24:6-7, that says nation will rise up against nation and kingdom against kingdom. We have seen this before, of course, in World War I and World War II. But today, things are different. Today, technology is different. Everything's different, right? We have Russia and the Ukraine sent a shock wave around the world. And now the events are focused on Israel and Gaza. There is a ton of talk about World War III. These conflicts has further divided the nations, Russia, China, Europe, USA, and lately the Middle East countries. And fear of attack to Israel from Iran is also out there in the talking points. There is not much talk about the Pakistan and India tension due to an accidental missile that landed in Pakistan's territory. So here we have the King of the North is a revived Roman Empire centered in Europe. The King of the South is a confederation of Muslim nations, and the King of the East, likely a Russia and China, who will attack the King of the North. Keep a watch on all this rising tension worldwide. I just want to insert here that there's a block missing in the scriptures, and that's the English-speaking nations. Specifically, I'm going to point out England and the U.S. Both powers are weakening. Inflation is on the rise, and weapon stockpiles are diminished, and much of the land seaports in America are controlled by China. Remember the dilemma in Europe over the fertilizers and farmers, reducing Europe's food supplies, their dependency on Russia and the oil, and the pandemic has changed the medical procedures worldwide. So watch for that. When the Lamb opened the third seal, I heard the third living creature say, I'm going to insert, "Come and see." As I watched, there was a black horse. Its rider held a pair of scales in its hand. I heard something like a voice coming from the midst of the four living creatures. "A quart of wheat for a dinar," said the voice, "and 3 quarts of barley for a dinar, but don't ruin the oil and wine." So the denarius was the normal daily wage, and grain allotment was a Roman soldier's daily food ration. So you have to remember this was written during the Roman Empire. Here, the entire wage goes to food, leaving money for nothing else. The cost for the grain represents inflation at the rate of 800%, thus economic collapse. Inflation globally, according to the World Economic Forum, and I know many of you don't like them, but they do a lot of numbers, is 8.7. It is said to double the stats about anything, basically, because so many things are messed when doing statistics. So you would double that to 17%, maybe 18%. I know a lot of us are experiencing different results. As far as the food, the Russia and Ukraine supply 1/4 of the world's wheat. Ukraine is a major exporter of corn, barley, and rapeseed. Ukraine's produces almost 50% of the world's sunflower oil. There are 26 countries that rely on Russia and Ukraine for over 50% of their grain and oil supply. Now you have to keep in mind that, this war started, I don't know how long ago, but it takes time for the residual effects to be felt. Okay, that means not being able to farm and produce and ship food. So you don't feel what's going on right away. You feel it later. Russia is the world's largest exporter of nitrogen-based fertilizers and phosphates. And so it kind of leads me to wonder why, in Europe, they were trying to stop allowing farmers to use these fertilizers before that conflict came out. The U.S. national debt has jumped by around 10 trillion in 4 years and has doubled to over 30 trillion. The United Nations projects a 20% rise in the price of food. So, those inflation numbers and how much the cost of food goes up, it does not match. So when the Lamb opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth living creature say, "Come and see." As I looked, there was a pale horse, and its rider's name was Death. Hades followed along behind him. They were given authority over a quarter of the earth. So keep in mind, only 1/4 of the earth, to kill with the sword and with famine and with death, and by means of the earth's wild animals. It sounds like the animals will even go crazy because there's no food. There's like a drought, which I will talk into in a minute. This horse represents famine and disease, which would normally follow destruction, as like in the war in Gaza. So you can expect to see the repercussions if this is ever over, if there's any Gazans alive, if Israel doesn't take over the entire area and the Palestinians have to go somewhere else, you're going to see famine and disease. Because of a lack of food, inflation followed by disease and famine as well. Considering the black and the red horse, where are we now? Keep a watch. The famine is twofold, both physically and spiritually. Salt water is infesting the Mississippi River. Either Iowa or Idaho's wells are running dry, and it is forecasted that there are several changes for extreme drought in affecting the southern United States. Right now, the swamps in Louisiana are being affected by the Mississippi salt water that flows into it, the animals and such. The list goes on and on. Watch what is going on in the churches. I'm talking about discernment is more important now than ever. A personal relationship with the Lord is more important now than ever. Building relationships with trusted ones and spreading the word with others, praying on your knees, is more important now than ever. Here are some encouraging words that I want to give following all this stuff for us to watch. Just watch. I'm not saying anything here, but just to, be aware. To hold close to your hearts in time of trouble. So here's some of the encouraging words, and I'm going to just read through them, and God bless you. Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Isaiah 40:31. But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Isaiah 43:2. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. When you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. 1 Peter 5:10. And the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ, after you have suffered a little while, will himself restore you and make you strong, firm, and steadfast. In Deuteronomy 7:9. Know therefore that the Lord your God is God. He is the faithful God, keeping his covenant of love to 1,000 generations of those who love him and keep his commandments. 1 John 3:2-3. Dear friends, now we are children of God, and what we will be has not yet been made known. But we know that when Christ appears, we shall be like him, for we shall see him as he is. All who have this hope in him purify themselves just as he is pure. That is our hope in glory. Jeremiah 7:5-7. If you really change your ways and your actions and deals with each other justly, if you do not oppress the foreigner, the fatherless, or the widow, and do not shed innocent blood in this place, and if you do not follow other gods to your own harm, then I will let you live in this place in the land that I gave you and your ancestors forever and ever. John 11:25-26. And Jesus said to her, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die. Do you believe this? I pray you do. God bless you, and shalom.